Mark Ellison tugged at his tie under the Juneteenth gala's warm lights. Raleigh's community center buzzing with laughter and drumbeats. At 38, he stood tall, a professor turned nonprofit founder, kids' cheers echoing his years of late-night grant writing. His phone buzzed, Tessa's text, "Borrowed your grant cash, retreat's a hit." His breath caught, $80,000, meant for youth programs, gone to her yoga empire. The crowd clapped for local heroes, but his smile froze, hands clenching the podium's edge. "Did I bleed for this?" he muttered, voice drowned by applause, the sting sharper than the Raleigh heat outside. He saw Tessa at 15, begging him to fund her first yoga mat. "You're my rock, Mark." Now she'd cracked that rock wide open. Evelyn's proud, "That's my girl," from last week's call rang hollow, her applause all for Tessa's TikTok glow. The tie choked him, a noose of loyalty, as kids waved from the crowd, his kids robbed by his own blood. "They took it all," he rasped, the text glowing like a taunt, pulling him back to a family he'd carried too long. Mark leaned against the gala's wall, the Raleigh night pressing humid through the community center's open doors. Tessa's text still searing his screen. His mind drifted to the Ellison house, a clapboard 2-story Evelyn had bought with decades of social work grit. She'd been a neighborhood saint, counseling teens, hosting potlucks, while Mark, at 38, patched its sagging porch, hands blistered from late shifts, grading papers to fund it. That home was theirs, a root he'd watered, beams he'd braced against Carolina storms. Tessa had turned 25 last spring, her TikTok lighting up with wellness warrior vlogs, retreat cabins, and yoga mats he'd bankrolled with nonprofit grants. Evelyn beamed, "She's our star, lifting us up," while Mark's chalk-dusted sleeves got a shrug. "I'm the grunt," he muttered, voice low, the phone's glow a spotlight on his fade. He'd skipped sleep to draft those grants, her grin, "Mark, you're the best," now a ghost as she spun his work into her glow. Raleigh stretched beyond, strip malls, church spires, a patchwork he'd served, kids he'd taught, now shadowed by her rise. He gripped his tie, the fabric fraying like his trust, seeing Evelyn at 50, ladling soup at a Juneteenth cookout. "Family's everything, Mark." Tessa trailed him then, pigtails bouncing, his shadow, now she outshone him, built on his dime. "All I gave," he growled, the gala's drumbeats thumping his chest, her retreat a palace on his ruins. The kids' applause faded, Tessa's silence heavier than the porch he'd fixed, dragging him toward a fracture he couldn't unsee. Mark's gala faded, the community center's hum dissolving into the clatter of a church potluck a year back. Raleigh's summer heat thick with barbecue smoke. The Ellison porch sagged under folding tables, collards, cornbread, Evelyn's famous peach cobbler drawing neighbors in droves. Mark, then 37, mopped sweat from his brow, hauling ice for the cooler, the house he'd patched glowing behind him. Tessa swept in, 24, phone up, filming a TikTok. "Joe community vibes, living my truth." Her followers buzzed, blind to the $5,000 grant he'd lent her for studio space, unrepaid. He set the ice down, voice firm. "Tessa, that loan, nonprofit's tight, pay it back." She smirked, flipping her braids. "Relax, Mark, it's an investment. I'm growing us." Evelyn bustled over, apron stained, her social worker smile tight. "She's right, honey. You're too serious. Tessa's building something big." The words stung like a slap, heads turning. Miss June from the block eyeing him sideways. Mark's jaw clenched, ice melting on his boots. Big, I'm drowning in debt for kids' books while she vlogs. Tessa laughed, filming on. Don't be dramatic. Nobody's begging you to save the world. Evelyn patted her shoulder. That's my star. Dreams need room. Mark kicked the cooler, plastic cracking, the crowd hushing. Room I paid for, he roared, voice splintering, cobbler untouched on the table. Evelyn's face hardened. Don't spoil this, Marcus. Family lifts each other. Lifts, without him. Tessa posted by dusk. Potluck love. Haters stay small. Views spiked, his outburst cropped out. Back at the gala, Mark's grip on his tie tightened, the memory a shard in his chest. They chose her, he growled. The potluck's warmth souring fast. A wound he'd nursed too long, begging to split wider. Mark slumped in his cluttered Raleigh office, the community center's gala buzz still ringing, when Nadia burst in, her nonprofit badge swinging. The room smelled of stale coffee and chalk, a fan rattling against the Carolina heat. Found it, she said, voice sharp, slapping a ledger on his desk, red ink glaring. $80,000 siphoned from their youth program to Tessa's Tranquility Retreat. His pulse spiked, chair creaking as he grabbed it. Tessa, he croaked, flipping pages, his signature, scrawled on transfers he'd never seen. She didn't tell you? Nadia's eyes burned, but she knew. Mark's fists balled, Tessa's gala text. Borrowed your cash, blazing anew. He'd burned midnights for those funds, teaching kids to read, while she built cedar cabins for yoga elites. The fan word mocking his days. Evelyn called it family support, Nadia added, said she okayed it. Mark's throat locked. His mom, the social worker saint, signing off on theft. He saw Tessa at 18, begging for textbook cash. You're my lifeline, Mark. A lie now stark as the ledger. They gutted me, he rasped, hurling the ledger, pages fluttering like ash. The potluck sneer, too serious, echoed, this blow sharper. Nadia steadied the desk. We can sue. Funds are traceable. Mark's jaw tightened. Evelyn's silence, a brick on his chest. Tessa's retreat, glowing on TikTok, while his kids lost books. She knew, he growled, the numbers a mirror to his unraveling trust, shoving him toward a war he hadn't sought. Mark pushed through the community clinic's glass doors, the Raleigh air thick with late summer damp, his sneakers squeaking on chipped tile. He'd collapsed grading papers, exhaustion, the doc said, now propped on a cot, an IV dripping slow. Evelyn shuffled in, her social worker's cardigan threadbare, eyes dodging his. Nadia called, he said, voice hoarse, clutching the crumpled ledger. You let Tessa take $80,000, my kids' funds. Why? Evelyn straightened, a flicker of her old steel. She's our star, Mark. Her retreat's lifting us. You're strong, you'll bounce back. The words slammed him, the IV tugging like a chain. Bounce back, he barked, cot creaking. I'm tapped out while she's zen-rich. Evelyn's lips thinned. Family first. She's got vision. Don't tear her down. Mark's hands shook. Her family first, a sermon he'd heard at 12, hauling her soup pots while she praised Tessa's school plays. She didn't even ask, he growled. But Evelyn turned, slippers scuffing out. His phone buzzed, Tessa's TikTok live, her in a lotus pose, retreat cabins gleaming. Big family win today. Haters can't stop us. Comments surged. Go, Tessa. Not a hint of his drained account. He yanked the IV stand, metal clanging, pain spiking his chest. A win? He rasped. Her vlog a blade carving deeper. He saw her at 20, crashing his couch after a yoga gig flopped. You're my safety, Mark. Now she'd netted him out. The clinic's hum mocked him, Evelyn's faith, and Tessa's glow a wall he couldn't scale. "They're writing me off," he muttered, breath ragged. "The potluck's too serious." Now a theft she'd spun gold. A nurse peeked in. "Rest, hun." But rest was a myth. His trust bled dry, pushing him toward a truth he'd have to rip bare-handed from their lies. Mark sat on the clinic cot, the Raleigh dawn creeping pale through smudged blinds. The ivy's drip a steady thud against his pounding head. Nadia perched beside him, her laptop casting a cold glow on a stack of grant records, approvals, transfers, signatures. "Here," she said, voice tight, jabbing a line. "Marcus Ellison, approved. $80,000, Tessa's Tranquility Retreat, 2025. His gut lurched, the needle stinging sharper. "That's me," he rasped, snatching the page, ink blurring under his trembling fingers. "I never signed. Evelyn's doing?" Nadia's jaw clenched. "Her name's on the co-approvals. Forged your signature, too. They rerouted it clean." Mark's breath hitched, the Ellison house flashing, him at 25, nailing its porch, Evelyn nodding. "Proud of you, son." That pride, his name, now a tool for Tessa's cedar empire. "They stole me," he growled, crumpling the paper, the monitor beeping wild. He saw Tessa at 17, pleading for summer camp cash. "You're my hero, Mark." Trust he'd poured, now a trap. "Am I blind?" he muttered, doubt clawing his chest. Nadia scrolled, dates syncing with Tessa's retreat launch, Evelyn's scrawl sealing each move. "They ran it like clockwork," he said, voice cracking, the Raleigh humidity pressing in like a shroud. He'd burned weekends mentoring kids, while they'd siphoned his soul for her TikTok throne. A memory cut. Evelyn at 55, Juneteenth cookout, hugging him. "You're our anchor." Anchor sunk, abandoned. He shoved the laptop off the tray. It clattered to the tile, pain flaring through his arms. "I gave them everything," he snarled, fists slamming the cot, "and they cashed it." Nadia grabbed his shoulder, firm. "We've got proof. Court can claw it back." Mark's eyes narrowed. Tessa's vlog. Family win. A lie looping in his skull. Trust shattered. A fire roared up, the community's whispers. Mark's too rigid. A hum he'd face head on, burning toward a fight they'd never see coming. Mark eased off the clinic cot, the Raleigh morning dull through fogged windows, his phone buzzing like a wasp nest. Discharged, he scrolled, neighborhood group chat ablaze. "Tessa's fighting for us. Mark's tearing her down." Miss June typed, "Selfish man, let her shine." His throat tightened, the screen glowing with Tessa's latest TikTok. Her in a sunlit retreat, voice quavering. "Some family just want me small. Help me rise." Views hit 15K, comments piling. Poor Tessa. Not a whisper of his stolen 80K. He flung the phone onto the cot. It bounced with a dull thud, the IV bruise throbbing. "Rise," he snarled, voice raw, the Carolina humidity a weight on his chest. He'd coached Miss June's grandson, hauled her groceries. Now her selfish stung like salt. "They're blind," he muttered, but the ledgers forged signatures, his name, whispered they didn't care. He saw Tessa at 14, biking beside him to the community center. "You're my wingman, Mark." Now she'd clipped his wings, soaring alone. A text pinged, "Mr. Ray from the block. Stay off my stoop, Ellison." Mark's fists clenched, the clinic's antiseptic tang souring. Evelyn's "She's our star" echoed, Tessa's vlog spinning his ruin into her redemption. He'd taught their kids, fixed their fences, now a stranger in his own streets. "I'm out," he rasped, but the lie burned. Out meant defeat, and he wasn't there yet. A dream flickered, Tessa at 10, tugging him to a potluck. "You're the best, Mark." He shook it off, the phone buzzing again. June. Always knew he was cold. Evidence choked him. The fight ahead, a haze sharpening fast, pulling him toward a courtroom where he'd stand alone. Mark sat rigid in Raleigh's civil courtroom, a low-rent space of scuffed linoleum and buzzing lights, his hands gripping Nadia's folder of forged grant records. At 38, exhaustion shadowed his eyes, but his voice cut sharp. "They took $80,000, my nonprofit's lifeblood, for her retreat. Here's the proof. Approvals, signatures, all fake." The judge, a graying woman with a Juneteenth pin, peered over her glasses at the stack. The gallery. "Miss June, Mr. Ray," Shifton uneasily. Tessa stood across, yoga-toned in a blazer, her TikTok poise fraying. She leaned in, voice smooth. "It's a sibling gift, Your Honor. Mark wanted me to succeed. He's just bitter now." Her gaze flicked to him, a flash of the old kid sister grin, then ice. "Gift?" Mark roared, slamming the table, the crack bouncing off cinderblock walls. "I never signed. Check the dates. I was teaching." The judge frowned, flipping pages, as June muttered, "Ungrateful." Mark's chest heaved, seeing Tessa at 16, crashing his dorm. "You'll help me, right, Mark?" Trust he'd banked, now cashed out in court. "Why's your name on it?" the judge asked, tone dry. Mark's throat caught. "'Cause I was the fool who trusted," he rasped, hands trembling, till they bled me dry. Tessa's chin quivered, real or rehearsed, then steadied fast. Nadia nudged him. "Show the transfers." He shoved the folder wide, forged scrawl, glaring. His name, their theft. But Tessa's calm held, a shield he couldn't pierce. He saw Evelyn at the potluck. Family lifts each other. A lie now bare. The judge tapped her pen. "This needs sorting. Evidence conflicts." Mark's pulse thundered. The room stares. June's, Ray's, boring in. Tessa's gift, a spark poised to ignite bigger, a fire he'd stoke or choke on next. Mark stumbled out of the Raleigh courtroom, the Carolina dusk swallowing the Civic Center's chipped steps, his tie loose like a noose undone. His phone buzzed. Tessa's TikTok, posted minutes ago, rocketing to 20,000 views. Her in a retreat meadow, eyes glistening. "My brother's jealous. He's suing to kill my dream." She waved a grant stub, captioned, "Family should lift you. Number Tessa strong." Comments erupted. "Mark's a hater." "Poor girl," Miss June's handle flashing. "Knew he was petty." Mark's knees buckled. He gripped a lamppost, the metal cold against his palms, breath fogging fast. "She's twisting it," he growled, voice lost to the wind. But Raleigh didn't flinch. His phone lit up, texts from Mr. Ray. "You're done here. A kid's mom. No tutoring. Stay away." He saw Tessa at 19, filming her first yoga vlog on his porch. "You're my crew, Mark." Now she'd turned that crew into a mob. He scrolled, fingers numb. Her struggle hit 30,000. Hashtags trending. Save Tessa. The house he'd patched, his kid's future, spun into her martyr act. His name, dirt on the streets he'd swept. He kicked the post, steel ringing, exhaustion clawing his bones. "They're swallowing it whole," he rasped, her vlog looping in his skull, her tears, his ruin. A pickup screeched by, June leaning out. "Selfish fool," her glare a blade. Mark's hands shook, the clinic's IV scars pulsing. Evelyn's, "She's our star," a hymn the neighborhood sang now. He'd built their playgrounds, shared their collards. now a pariah in his own block. "I'm finished," he muttered, but the lie stuck. Finished meant surrender, and surrender wasn't him yet. A dream flared, Tessa at 11, tugging him to a Juneteenth dance. "You're my big bro." He jolted, tires squealing past, the betrayal a weight crushing his ribs. The phone buzzed. "Nadia. Court's tomorrow." "Hold tight." Hold tight. To what? The town's scorn closed in, a tide he couldn't outrun, driving him toward a reckoning he'd face with no shield. The clinic's fluorescent hum buzzed like a trapped fly, cutting through Raleigh's late-night stillness as shadows stretched across the linoleum. Mark stood by Evelyn's bed, her oxygen tubes hissing faintly, her once strong frame shriveled under a thin blanket. At 60, she looked brittle, her social worker's hands clutching a faded photo. "Mark, Tessa, a Juneteenth potluck." "Court's tomorrow," he said, voice low, the forged grant folder heavy in his grip. "Proved Tessa stole. Funds are mine." Evelyn's eyes cracked open, watery but fierce. "Don't, Marcus," she wheezed, fingers trembling toward him. "She's family. Don't break her." The words sank like stones, his boots scuffing the tile as he shifted. "Family?" he snapped, voice rising. "You let her gut my kid's future." Evelyn's grip tightened, frail but stubborn. "You pushed her, always so rigid. Fix it quiet." Mark's throat burned, seeing Tessa at 9, tugging him through potluck dust. "Race me, Mark." Her laugh loud as he'd hoisted her up, Evelyn cheering them both. That boy carried her, now sued her. "Did I push?" he muttered, doubt gnawing his ribs. Tessa's tick-tock. "He's jealous," played in his skull, the neighborhood's booze a chorus Evelyn hummed to now. Mark stood, fists clenched around the folder as his thoughts swirled in a storm of regret and resolve. "Fix it," he rasped, voice raw, his hands trembling. "They robbed me blind." He saw Evelyn at 50, ladling cobbler. Ellison's stick together, a vow cracked by her star's glow. A dream flickered, Tessa at 13, crying when he fixed her bike. "You save me, Mark." He jolted, the monitor spiking, her plea a weight he couldn't shed. "I'm saving me now," he growled, stepping back, boots echoing sharp. Evelyn's cough rasped. "Don't ruin her, son." Ruin. He'd built their world, not burned it. The blinds clattered, night fading to gray, the verdict a hammer poised to fall, slicing him between blood and the man he'd forged alone. A chair scraped across the clinic's linoleum, the sound jarring against Raleigh's pre-dawn hush as Mark slumped into it. The forged grant folder splayed on his lap. Hours stretched before the verdict, the weight of Evelyn's wheeze. "Don't ruin her," clashing with Tessa's tick-tock taunt. "He's jealous." He rubbed his eyes, the fourth bruise pulsing, and pulled a creased photo from his pocket. Evelyn, Tessa, him at a Juneteenth cookout, arms linked under a fading sun. "Was it worth it?" he muttered, voice rough, thumb brushing Tessa's grin. He saw her at 14, rigging a prank with his toolbox. "You're my partner, Mark." Had he boxed her in, fueled her greed with his rules? The folder burned, proof of her theft, $80,000 siphoned. Yet Evelyn's plea tethered him. He kicked the chair leg, metal groaning, exhaustion seeping into his bones. "They broke me," he rasped, but doubt crept, her court quiver, real or fake. His phone buzzed. "Nadia. Rulings at 8. Be there." There, to torch them or pull back. A dream flared. Tessa at 8, tugging him from a church pew. "You're my hero, Mark." He jolted, boots scuffing, the Carolina wind rattling the blinds like a judge's gavel. Ruin her, and Evelyn might fade. Spare her, and his kids lost more. His sweat, his fight. Blood or justice, he growled, hands shaking, the photo fluttering to the tile. The answer choked him, a coin flip in the dark, the neighborhood's scorn, June's booze, Ray's glares, a storm he couldn't dodge. So, what's your take? Would Mark burn his roots to reclaim his soul, or swallow the sting for a mother's last breath? Drop your vote below. Family or fairness, who wins? Stick around. The gavel's dropping soon, and it'll carve a line he can't unstep. A choice that'll echo louder than this clinic's hum. The gavel's echo faded into Raleigh's courtroom, a hollow thud against the morning's gray light, seeping through streaked windows. Mark stood, hand steady on Nadia's folder, as the judge's voice cut through. Misuse proven. Marcus Ellison regains control of the $80,000. The gallery, Miss June, Mr. Ray, sat mute, eyes averted. Tessa slumped across the aisle, her yoga blazer creased, tick-tock sheen dulled by the linoleum's glare. Mark's chest tightened, victory bitter as Carolina Clay. Evelyn's plea, don't ruin her, a burr under his ribs. He clutched the photo in his pocket. Potluck grins, now ghosts. She shuffled over, sneakers scuffing, voice low, cracked. Mark, I messed up. Wanted to outgrow this place. Outgrow you. She slid a crumpled note. Tessa's real roots, raw vlogs, her handwriting shaky. No cash, just a restart. Please? Her eyes, raw, flickered. Not the wellness queen, but the kid who'd raced him to the church lot. He saw her at 15, begging him to film her first yoga flow. We're a duo, Mark. A duo he'd caged with his grind. You think I'd jump back now? He rasped, pushing the note away, boots scraping as he stepped back. She flinched, nodding slow. Had to try. For me, not us. The honesty hit harder than her vlogs. Need, not guile, staring back. He'd won. Saved his kids' funds. But her crack wasn't a ploy. It was a mirror to his own buried ache to build real. I don't need your roots, he said, voice firming, turning past her. Nadia's glance from the door, steady, sharp, followed him out. Tessa's soft, I get it, trailed him, a whisper lost to the courtroom's hum. Victory rang thin, her shift a splinter he couldn't yank, tugging him toward a life he'd carve without her echo. Dust motes danced in the slant of Raleigh's afternoon sun, filtering through the cracked blinds of Mark's nonprofit office, a trailer parked near the community center. 3 months after the court win, he stood taller, chalk-dusted hands flipping through a ledger, $80,000 reclaimed, now funding after-school labs. His phone pinged, Nadia. New grants in, kids' tech class starts next week. He grinned, faint, the framed grant stub on the wall, a trophy of his climb. The photo, Evelyn, Tessa, him, sat propped, edges curling in the Carolina damp. I'm back, he muttered, the trailer's hum a pulse of his own. His screen flickered, Tessa's latest vlog. No polish, just her in the Ellison garage. Starting small, real roots, real me. Views ticked slow. 4K. Her voice steady. Lost big, learned bigger. She'd shifted post-ruling, trading yoga glam for grit. His win had dulled her star, but not her spine. He saw her at 22, crashing his couch after a retreat flop. You're my net, Mark. Now she wove her own. Evelyn faded, still in the house he'd patched. Her texts. Talk to me. Unread. A ghost he let slip. We're split, he said. The photo's grins a Juneteenth echo. Tessa's tug long gone. Nadia leaned in. Another donor, $5,000. Mark nodded, sunlight warming the trailer's bare walls. He thrived here, lean, free, while Tessa rebuilt in her frame, her garage clips a nod to their old potluck spark minus the theft. She's got guts, he rasped, boots tapping as he stretched, the photo catching his eye. Evelyn's absence ached, but Mark's roots deepened, separate, not tangled. "I'm solid," he growled, a peace with the man he'd forged. The house a weight he'd set down, pulling him toward a porch he might face again. Gravel crunched under tires as Mark's truck rolled into the Ellison driveway. Raleigh's twilight casting long shadows over the clapboard house he'd once patched. The porch sagged, a relic of his sweat, and Tessa stood there, filming a vlog. Jeans dusty, no yoga glow. The air hung heavy with pine and regret. The photo in his pocket a weight as he climbed out. She stopped mid-sentence. "Real roots, y'all." Her phone dropping to her side, eyes narrowing, then softening. "Didn't think you'd come," she said, voice tight, kicking a pebble. He leaned on the railing, steady. "Had to," he rasped, throat raw. "I screwed up, Tessa," he said, words rough, stepping closer. "Held you too hard. Sorry for that." Her jaw tightened, a flash of her TikTok smirk, then gone. "I don't need sorry, Mark," she shot back, firm but frayed. "Just needed you to see me, not your shadow." He flinched, seeing her at 13, begging him to fix her busted bike. "You're the best, Mark." Him snapping, "Figure it out." She turned, nodding at the porch. "This is me now, raw, not fake." Her voice wavered, a plea beneath the edge. "You get it?" He nodded, slow, the photo burning his chest. "Yeah," he said, "and I respect it. Late, but real." She gripped her phone, knuckles white. He saw her at 20, sobbing over a failed vlog. "You're my rock." Now standing tall, unmoored. "We're not whole," he said, boots scuffing back. "Maybe never." She dipped her head, eyes on the gravel. "But this holds. For now." The air stilled, a truce, not a mend, pine scent thick between them. He turned, truck keys jangling, her silhouette sharp against the porch light. Distant, firm. The ache softened, a fragile calm settling, pulling him toward a path he'd walk solo. The Raleigh sunset bled orange across the community center's roof, kids' laughter spilling from Mark's tech lab as he locked the trailer door. 6 months since the porch truce, he stood firm at 38, hands rough from wiring circuits, $80,000 reborn into laptops and hope. His phone buzzed. Nadia. "Labs booked. Donors up 20%. He smirked, the grant stub framed in his office, a scar turned badge. The photo, Evelyn, Tessa, him, leaned against it, edges curling in the Carolina heat. "I'm steady," he muttered, the lock clicking sharp, dusk wrapping his shoulders. His screen glowed, Tessa's vlog, her in faded jeans, roots run deep, slow and real. Views hovered at 5K, her tone soft. Family bends, doesn't break. She'd mellowed post-court, crafting truth from grit. His win had dimmed her spotlight, not her will. He saw her at 17, biking beside him to Juneteenth. "You're my wingman, Mark." A wingman he'd grounded, now flying solo. Evelyn lingered in the clapboard house, her calls rare, a shadow fading. Mark let it drift. "We're apart," he said. The photos grins, a memory of potluck dust. Tessa's tug, a ghost. He tapped the trailer rail, the neighborhood humming below, church bells, kids' shouts, a tapestry he'd rewoven. Tessa thrived her way. Evelyn slipped, and Mark rose, roots split but deep. "I'm enough," he rasped, the frame glinting in twilight, a nod to battles carved into strength. The split had shaped them, not mended them, a quiet truth settling, pulling him toward a lesson he'd soon share loud.